welcome to another episode of the SydeBoob Podcast, the number 2 podcast in the entire world.
Yep.
How you doing? I haven't talked to you in like a week.
I know, yeah. Yeah, it's been a long week, to be honest. But yeah, I'm all right. Bit devastated with the Joshua result. But, I mean, if you look at the last podcast, I did see it coming, so
You did.
It's not like I was massively surprised.
I called you a liar because I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And I still can't see it.
Well, that's the thing, right, is sometimes, I know I talk about Sean O'Malley a lot with his height advantages and stuff like that, but like Marab showed, sometimes it doesn't matter what advantages you have. It's about how you've prepared and how you've got to that stage. So the reason why I could see that happening was because Joshua's last few fights have been against Franklin and Garnett and Otto Wallin, which are not that high level. Whereas the Dubois have been against Usyk, Hrgovic, and can't remember who the other one was. But they were all like very high level. So I thought, if anyone's going to be sharp of the two, it should be the Dubois, you know. So, And then I look at the age; they've got a 10-year age difference. You know, AJ's on the wrong end of that, Dubois on the right end of it. So, yeah, it's like I said in the last podcast; it was kind of like a passing the torch moment.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, I was watching it kind of passively at first, but once Joshua got rocked in that first round, I'm like, okay, let me pay more attention to this because I didn't see it coming, and I feel silly for not seeing it coming because it just seemed so obvious once the fight actually started.
Yeah,
Joshua looked flat, and Dubois looked like he was going to knock some heads off, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it was my ideal dream was for Joshua to get that title again. Like, not the one off Dubois, but to get it again off like Usyk or whoever had the most belts. But like part of me, I just couldn't see it. Like I think Joshua's been great, and I think if that was prime Joshua against prime Dubois, I think it would have looked totally different because I think Joshua would have taken that shot in the first round, you know, and recovered a bit better. But yeah, at the end of the day, though, I think Joshua did himself quite proud. I mean, one thing people used to say a lot about him was like, oh, he's got no, you know, he's mentally weak and he's got no chin, which I never understood. Where do you get that from? Like, what example have you got for me of this to show me? And people would go to the Ruiz fight. But I used to say, well, how's that? For one, how's that a sign of a weak chin? No one would take that off Ruiz.
Yeah.
And two, like, mentally weak, the referee had to call that fight off. He didn't stop in that fight. He didn't take a knee. He didn't, you know, pretend to be knocked out. The referee had to literally, like, stop it. So I think, in a sad way, it's disproven a lot about the mentally weak and the weak chin stuff by taking what he took in that Dubois fight, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he was on spaghetti legs more than once. I thought it was over, I think, 2 to 3 times. I'm like, damn, he just keeps getting up. And, you know, he shook it off like a man. And I think it's a fallacy and kind of farcical to say in the heavyweight division, like, to call anybody weak-chinned. Because all these guys are 200-plus pounds hitting you as hard as they can. To say you have a weak chin is just a silly, silly thing. Anybody gets caught clean, they're going to go to sleep.
Yeah, just taking a jab off a heavyweight, you know.
I would be out. I'm done.
Yeah, that's it. I think anyone would, you know. So the fact that they take multiple in a fight or in sparring, I mean, I've never liked that. Especially with boxers, the whole, he's got a weak chin. It's like, mate, these guys set up punches perfectly. Like, of course, the punches set up to turn you off. They don't mean your chin's weak.
Yeah, and then I saw one, and Joshua leaned right into it, and he caught him with a clean cross, and boom, like his face distorted. It was just like this perfect lean right into it, and just, come on, man. My head's going to spin around, you know?
That's it, yeah. Like, and the way all that led into it, I think Joshua just caught him with a clean.
Yes, right before that.
Yeah,
he was backing him up, and then he had Dubois coming on the run a little bit, And
I've got to
that's
give
one of the things
Dubois credit for taking that and then taking it and then thinking, right, AJ's walking in, so I'm gonna
come
hit him
crack
back.
him clean.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things when I was watching the fight. I kept waiting. I was like, okay, Dubois is going to get tired because he's throwing bombs. I was like, AJ just has to survive like the first 4 rounds, and I think he'll be fine. Yeah. And I just kept thinking that, like, he's going to eat these shots. He's going to get knocked down. But I think he's a better technical boxer. So once Dubois gets tired of throwing these haymakers, he's going to win the fight. It just never went to that point.
That's how I looked at the fight before it happened. Like, basically, I looked at it as a fight of 2 halves. If AJ could survive the first half, then it's his fight to win. Like, but if he can't survive the first half and Dubois gets his half off perfect, then it's going to be a bad fight for AJ. So, I mean, if you watch how both of them fight, that fight was quite predictable. Like, if you've watched how they both fight over the past, like, a few years. But Dubois has not shown that kind of technicality. I've not seen Dubois look so technically good. Like,
he didn't miss. Do that. He did not miss. that was the astonishing thing.
Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, I think a big part of it was that first one. As soon as that first one landed, I think the fight was over. Like, in that first round, you know what I mean? So
you're gonna hate this, but what it reminded me of, I think it was Fury Wilder 2, where Fury just came out like blitzing and like just overwhelmed Wilder. It kind of reminded me of that. Once he put him down that first time, you could kind of see.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, in an ideal world, I want AJ to retire because, like,
I thought he was going to.
Yeah, me too. But he wants to carry on. Like, he's got a rematch clause for this. So, I mean, it would be intriguing if he can beat Dubois in that rematch. It would be intriguing. But part of me thinks, I think that chin's gone. Like, I know I was just saying that he's proven, you know, that he had a strong chin, but I think it is gone now. Like, and I just worry that if he goes into a fight with Usyk, it's going to be the same story. He's going to get landed on first round, and it's going to be a similar story.
I feel like you can never count anybody out in the heavyweight division.
Oh no,
and it's anybody's fight anytime they go at it. So it wouldn't surprise me if Joshua wins the next one and just outpoints him, or it wouldn't surprise me if he knocked him out too.
I still believe styles make fights, and I still believe Joshua beats Fury. I still stand on that. You know, I don't think Fury has the power to do anything like what Dubois did to Joshua. So I don't see Fury deterring Joshua in any sense. And I just think if you can't deter Joshua, Joshua's going to end up putting him down. Yeah,
because he had reason to pause after he got cracked that first time. He was kind of a little hesitant to come in, and every time he came in, he got cracked, dude. Yeah. And like he laid a shot on Dubois right before he got knocked out. Yeah. He had Dubois wobbly, and then
I was off my seat. I was like, "Go on!" Like me and mum and dad were all watching it, and like obviously we're all happy with that fight. We're all happy whichever way it goes.
However it ended up,
but because of what AJ's done, you kind of support him a little bit more because of everything he's done for like the country and all that. So as soon as that landed, we were all like on our feet, like go on. And then it was pretty inevitable. Like the moment he sensed blood, he was gonna get. You know, I mean,
it was good. I enjoyed it. It was a good 5-round fight for what it was. I didn't have a dog in the fight. I mean, I know Anthony Joshua significantly more than I knew this Dubois guy. Like, I didn't know of him before we started talking about him, in all honesty.
Well, you know what's funny was I remember 5 years ago doing this podcast, I remember mentioning, there's a 20-year-old lad called Dubois. He's been sparring with AJ. Apparently he's going to be the English Mike Tyson and all this stuff. So there will be a clip of me saying that on the old podcast. But so
that's awesome.
It's pretty cool though. Dubois has been built pretty cleverly, I think. Like, they've kept him away from the limelight, but they've kept him in big fights.
I was
So
gonna say he
like,
fought Usyk, so it can't really be away from the limelight too much.
yeah. No, I mean in terms of like Joshua and Fury, they're promoters. Dubois promoted by Fury's promoter, by the way.
Oh.
But their promoters will, push them and get them on advertisement boards and all that stuff. Whereas Dubois has not really had that treatment yet. Whereas I don't know if that's his choice or not, because
Right.
he seems very quiet.
I was going to say he seemed like a more quiet person, but Joshua seems that way too. He doesn't seem like overly brash in your face kind of a guy. So.
I think with Joshua, it was more forced on him, like because he did so well at the Olympics, and I think he got silver in the World Championships as an amateur as well. I think like the nation just kind of pushed it on him like Amir Khan, where it was like, right, you're going to be the next one, no matter what.
I feel like with Joshua too, it's like he has a good look. He's a marketable face. He has a great physique. He fits so many different boxes, so you can kind of use him for whatever advertisement you need. So
that's it.
I feel like Dubois obviously doesn't have that chiseled physique or the square jaw like that. Like what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like if there's a new Men in Black movie, like you could advertise that. You know what I mean? Like. He does remind me a bit of like an alien. Like there's an alien inside of a human body. Like there's something a bit off about him. Not in a bad way.
Yeah, don't beat us up. But...
yeah, like don't hurt me. But yeah, it's so intriguing. So now they've all fought each other apart from the two that everyone would want to fight, which is AJ and Fury.
I saw a tweet today that reminded me of you. It says, "Is AJ and Fury the modern day Ferguson Khabib?"
Yeah, it literally is. Because every time it's close, there's like a cable to trip them up. You know what I mean? So it really is. A big part of it was because the promoters wouldn't work together. So Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren would never work together. Like, they'd never help each other out, so they'd never let their big stars fight each other. But since Saudi Arabia, that's kind of erased that. Like, literally, the fight card the other night was both Warren and Hearn and another guy called Ben Shalom, all their fighters fighting each other, which is so rare in the UK. So that always was a stumbling block. And then, obviously, we could all see what Fury's done and said to stop the fight from happening over the years, and then literally every time it's close enough, one of them loses. So, one of them's locked into like a trilogy or something.
Yeah, a 3-fight rematch clause or some silly shit, and that's the good and the bad of boxing. And I think I've said it on this a few weeks ago. Like, I love that you have like automatic rematch clauses for like random situations, so like what you're getting into. Right, you know what's booked. Whereas the UFC, they could put number 1 versus number 8 coming off a loss.
Yeah. But you know what? That I've got a theory. I saw the UFC's in Paris soon, isn't it?
This weekend.
It's this weekend. Yeah. So I saw that the Cyril Gane fight is off because Volkov has pulled out. Right.
Yeah, I saw that Volkov was out.
My theory is is the John Jones fight is like a week after, I think, isn't it?
Somewhere around there. Not too long after that.
Very close. My theory is that one of them two, Stipe or Jones, can't make the fight.
Out.
Yeah, and so we're gonna get Cyril Gane versus Tom Aspinall on that day, but they're not gonna announce it until a couple of days before the fight. So
once everybody's already bought the pay-per-view,
and literally. That's my prediction right here. Like, as soon as I saw that fight was off, I thought, well, it's strange that they've not got backup for Cyril Gane at such a big event, because Paris, it's like coming to the UK, it's huge, So I find that very strange. So part of me thinks they've got a plan for Cyril in a few weeks, and I think it might be that.
I don't know. I mean, that's a very cynical take, but I mean, we can't help but be cynical with the UFC sometimes because they do some stuff.
Yeah, that's it. But
I didn't think about it that way.
I'd like to see that. I actually think Gane could cause Tom problems on the feet, so I'd like to see that.
But as soon as you take Cyril down, he's over. So, like,
Yeah.
I mean, and Tom has some pretty good wrestling for a British guy, so.
Yeah, and he played rugby as well, so I imagine he'll just rugby tackle him. So there's that, but yeah, I don't know. Part of me thinks so. I think the John Jones fight was very misleading with Cyril Gane, like, because Jones is so good at grappling, you know. So part of me thinks, could Cyril Gane keep Tom off him in that sense?
I mean, we haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's supposition. We haven't seen it. So, but we do know, I mean, Cyril Gane is a really, really good kickboxer. Like, that's kind of what he does. And I was kind of looking forward to that Volkov fight because Volkov's on a streak. So it'd be interesting to see how he came along. And it's unfortunate that he's out, but I hope we don't get Gane versus Aspinall for the Undisputed. That would just, that's awful. Like that doesn't even sound good.
Like Gane,
no offense to Aspinall, but Gane, I mean, come on.
That'll be like Gane's second title fight without earning one. Like it would be crazy, but it's so unfitting with that division right now.
Yeah, I mean, who's in 10th in that division? Let's just throw them in there. I mean, Derek Lewis, has he won in a few years?
Yeah, that's it. Like, you know what? Just let John Jones fight Tuivasa. You know, just see how that happens.
Yeah,
you know, I saw him sparring with Pereira recently, and Pereira makes even that guy look small.
Yeah,
like, the monster, man.
He's such a monster. I saw him next to Sean Strickland when they were doing training together. I'm like, Sean Strickland is a big middleweight.
Yeah, he's like your size. He's like 6'2", isn't he?
Yeah, and then Pereira makes him look a whole weight division small. Like, it's just insane.
Yes. But then
and they fought each other.
They're only listed like an inch higher than him. So
yeah,
it's like, have you seen that picture of Pereira and Tyson Fury together?
They're like the same height.
Yeah, and he looked like very close. Like, people think that Pereira has this like voodoo going on where he's not allowed to be smaller than someone. So no matter what, he just is bigger than you no matter what.
Yeah, I see. He's supposed to be 6'4", which that's a big man. That's a big human. But yeah, I have the picture pulled up. I wish my screen share would work. He's like an inch smaller than Fury.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's always been a bit of a lie with the whole Fury being
6'9".
Yeah. I think he is probably closer to 6'7". Like, because he always wears, if you always look at his shoes, he always wears built-up shoes as well. So
really?
It's so weird that you're like 6'7", but you've still got like a height issue.
You have a small man complex. What's up with that?
Yeah, it's so weird, isn't it? Like I say, I used to see him boxing training when I was a kid, and I used to think he was a grown man. Like, I used to think, why is this grown man jogging with children? And like, that's how big he is. He's that big anyway. So
yeah, he's like our age, right? Like somewhere in our vicinity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big man. It's a big man. Big fighting man.
Yeah. But did you watch any of the other boxing fights on that?
I did. I watched was it the co-main that went the distance?
Was that Buatsi and a black guy versus a white guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
To simplify it. Yeah, that was a good fight. Buatsi versus Hutchins.
Yeah.
I don't know how Hutchins got given. One judge gave it to Hutchins, and I don't know how that happened.
It's boxing, dude.
Frank Warren had one on the pay there. Because, when it got to the scoring, I was like, how has anyone scored? Like, the guy got knocked down like 4 times throughout the fight. Like, how do you even score that for him? So weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, how do you fix that? You know? Like, how do you fix that?
You know what? I think UFC have got better, like, because UFC will kick someone off, won't they? So as soon as there's like a dodgy decision, they'll get rid of him. And
yeah,
then you
I love that.
on the card. So I think that's a good way of doing it. Like, because then...
But then it's too late.
It's too late. They've already affected one fight. But at the end of the day, it's something proactive. Like, And like, we never know, that judge just might be having a bad day, so it could be saving their career in the long run as well by just getting them off.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. It's just, I mean, how much harm would there be in adding 2 more judges?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, keep your odd number, so you can't, the odds of a draw are so significantly lower. But you add 2 more judges, or you have some sort of authority to where very clearly this guy made a bad call, so his card isn't going to count.
Yeah.
And we have the backup judges, or something like that. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, yeah. Like, I think, like, even like judges, 2 extra judges watching it on TV, so they can, see it from our perspective, because I think that's a lot of the mistranslation as well. Is the judges
TV versus live, right there,
and we're watching it on TV. So I reckon if there's 2 judges that can watch it on TV as well, then we'll probably get a more, like, a more honest, like, thing at the end. But I don't know how to fix it, because it's so human to just be biased and, to favour one person, or to favour style, or to favour, like,
your town, or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
it's just,
it could be as simple as like, oh, that guy, is just more active, and sometimes just being more active isn't being more proactive. It's just moving more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we see that a lot in the UFC. The guy who may be coming forward but's getting picked off is somehow winning the fight. It just, I don't know. But
I could see the Roundtree fight going quite like that.
I don't know. We'll get to that in a second. But I did want to talk about a guy you called out last week, Hamza Shiraz.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that fight.
He's a
KO. Sharp-looking guy, man. He's for that division, he's big. He's fast, lightning.
How does he that weight? Like, how does it, like you say, he's so big for the weight, but he's quick. Like, nothing about him makes sense. But
no.
He's good, isn't he?
And he's only 25.
Yeah.
Like, that is insanity.
I know, yeah. That's like a baby for boxing. Like, it's like Dubois only 26. So,
yeah.
Like, boxing's got a great future ahead of it right now. If not nurture these.
Isn't it weird how 5 years ago we were saying boxing doesn't have a future?
Yeah. I know, yeah.
I mean,
I think I was fighting. I think I was saying the heavyweight could have a future if they fight each other. I think 5 years ago we had Young Dubois, Joe Joyce, AJ. Wilder was still like, we didn't know what
he was
Wilder
still he wasn't weak-chinned and weak,
an unknown.
Like, no defense.
Yeah, it was still like, well, he has beat 48 people, 47 by knockout, so we've got to take him serious to an extent. And then you had, like, I'm trying to think who else was quite fresh around that time. Parker, Ruiz.
Well, we had, I think, what was it, Chisora and White were rematching.
Yeah, they were like.
Did they fight 3 times or 2 times? I know, like, they were
3 times.
Yeah,
they're talking about doing a 4th, which I'm so up for watching that. Like, but I think what should happen is, because they both wanted Wilder so much, they should both like fight Wilder. Like,
just all
one
fight
after the other. Yeah, just put them all 3 in the ring. See what
happens. See what happens. See who comes out on top.
But I think in those days I could see a future with the heavyweights. Like, I remember complaining about Tank. I remember saying, "Oh, I don't see much of a future if Tank keeps acting how Tank acts." And like, I don't think we knew of the emergence of Teofimo Lopez and like Devin Haney.
Teofimo Lopez, I remember he had just beat Lomachenko. Like, while we were doing the last podcast, we were like, yeah, he looked good, but Loma had the shoulder injury.
Yeah.
So it's like, does a healthy Loma lose to Teofimo Lopez? I don't know. But now, 5 years later, he's still going strong. So
yeah. And if I remember right, Josh Taylor was the undisputed around that time as well. So I remember you were like, "Who's this Josh Taylor guy?" Because he was in everyone's pound for pounds, and I was like, "No, he's really good." But yeah, obviously that didn't last too long.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who else was kind of relevant during.
Yeah,
the...
wasn't that? I think like Conor Benn Jr. and Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. I think they were
Eubanks. Yeah, yep. Yeah, I just remember distinctly having the conversation like, where does boxing go? They're not building up the stars. But then now, like, I feel like boxing is in such a good place, and MMA is kind of like, where does MMA go? They're not building up their stars. You know,
that's it, innit? They've done a reverse with the trajectory. I can't say it, but they have proper done a reverse, and like they've misbuilt their stars, I think. So you look at Sean O'Malley, like, you know, they matched him well to suit his skill set up until like Peter Yan, and then fortunately for O'Malley, he got through the Peter Yan test, and then it was like, all right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to try and force Aljo into like coming out early and fighting when he's not ready and all this. So I kind of look at that as like they've not helped O'Malley, because as soon as he got that title, as soon as there was a number one contender, he was getting beat. It was that simple. And like, it'll be the same if Paddy Pimblett manages to get the 150 belt. You know, as soon as there's a good contender, he'll just get knocked out.
Yeah, I don't want to be in a world where that happens anytime soon.
No, me too.
Like, eventually, sure. I mean, you know, if he keeps winning, that you can't really deny it. But I don't want to be in a world where Paddy Pimblett's a UFC champion. Like, that's just...
No. Oh, God. Don't you imagine, like, the
I can't imagine for you, yeah, the annoyance.
Oh, mate, because like, everyone will be acting like... So he does the Tyson Fury route of, like, acts like a complete prick, bullies people, and then goes, oh, men's mental health. And, like, I cannot be arsed with another one of them. Another bully who likes to bully people, try and be suicidal, go, oh, but men's mental health. Like, I just can't be arsed with it.
No, it's funny because that was the only thing that like kind of endeared me to Paddy. It was whenever he gave that post-fight speech about, you know, men's mental health, talk to somebody. I'm like, oh, this guy, you know, he seems like a real guy. He's just putting on an act. And then he kept doing it and doing it and doing it. It's like, oh God, this fucking guy.
Oh yeah, he's just doing the Tyson Fury thing, like, of like, yeah, well, in England, people are dumb as fuck, so I can literally shit on him, do whatever I want to him, call him whatever I want, and then
they'll still love me.
With men's mental health, they'll be like, oh, what a nice guy.
That's funny. Nah, just the shenanigans. I think we were at a point where, the Conor McGregor effect was kind of everywhere now. That we're like 5 years removed from that. The people who are still trying to do it are just annoying. Like O'Malley, like Pimblett, it's just annoying. Like, shut up. Like, just fight.
That's it. I mean, I actually think Paddy's personality is his personality, if that makes sense. Like, I do think that is him. But, like, especially with Sean O'Malley, seeing that McGregor still affects everything he does. Like, his whole career is based off, I want to be the next McGregor. I'm going to be the next McGregor.
Literally. That's all he cares about.
It's cheap, I think. Because it's like, McGregor had no one to look up to for that. You know what I mean? So McGregor was like, I am Conor McGregor. You're all going to love me. And then you see, like, Ian Gary, Sean O'Malley, like, just copy it. It's like, mate, we liked Conor because he was Conor. He was authentic.
He was himself, yeah. No, and I forgot about Ian Gary. Yeah, he's another one of them that are in that same I want to be cool mold. And it's just like, dude, just, no, you're not it. You're not.
You're not. All the shit with him and the MMA fan base, with him being a cook.
No.
Oh, you're gonna love this, right?
All right.
So his wife, she's a lot older than him. She's like 10, 20 years older than him. She's British, part Brazilian. About, you know what, we mentioned it in the World Cup, the South African one. She was working on that as like a journalist, like an anchor. And as a joke, she wrote like how to be a successful wag, right? In England, the term wag is like wife and girlfriend, but it's for like sports stars or, you know what I mean? So that's what we call the girlfriends of like famous sports stars. We call them wags.
Okay.
So she wrote this book, How to Be a Wag, and apparently it's tongue in cheek, a joke. But in the book, it's all about basically attracting a young, successful sports star that you can mold and you can, you know what I mean?
To use him to get famous yourself, kind of a thing, or
Yeah. So all this has come out, and then because she thinks she's dead media savvy and stuff, she's like come out against it with her own video, but she kind of made it worse in a way because it made people talk about it even more. But then, like, so this all got forgot about. Like, this was happening when Ian Gary was supposed to fight quite recently, yeah? It was so bad, Ian Gary pulled out of the press conference. It was when Colby was at the press conference and he was talking about everyone shagging Ian Gary's wife. Yeah, that's when all this happened. Because it got to a point where Colby was even copying
wow.
And but all that kind of got forgot about. And then last week she filmed a video of him outside the house with flowers, singing up to her and all this. And it was like she was shaming him, knowing that all the MMA fans would be like, what
I gotta get right on that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that is funny as fuck.
Like, my favourite joke out of it all was that, you know, in hotels, they say that they invented the little chair in the corner. They invented that for Ian Gary.
So you can look at the bed.
Yeah, so you can sit there watching.
Oh, that is funny. That is
you missed out on some fun with Ian Gary, man.
Oh, yeah, I missed that completely.
Yeah, that all started out because when he fought Magny said something along the lines of, I'm a new father now, so I'm used to disciplining my child. So basically, I'll discipline him. Like, you know, just try to build a fight. Ian Gary took that literal and was accusing Magny of
beating his kid or something.
Yeah, and his child was like 11 months old or something. Yeah, so it was all silly. But Magny was actually going through divorce proceedings at the time, and this started affecting his divorce proceedings, right? So all MMA fans were just pissed off at Ian Gary anyway. And then when this come out, it was just like, mate, we're going to just ruthlessly bully you now.
Oh, so, yeah. And deservedly so. He's a douche. He's such a douchebag, man.
Oh, yes, I can't stand him.
But anyway.
You know what? Great fighter to watch, though. That's what's annoying.
Yeah, he's very talented. There's no doubt about that. It just sucks when talented fighters have absolute shit personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Awful. Or even the opposite of that. Whenever you have like a guy you could really cheer for who just is either on the downside of their career or just not as good as you want them to be, that sucks too.
Yeah, like AJ for me at the moment. Like,
right. So that fight was obviously in a big arena. Obviously, how do you feel? Like, did it have the UK buzzing? Did you feel like the atmosphere?
Yeah. Like, I was gonna say this. Give me that over the Sphere all day. Like, I'd rather that enhance the fight more than the Sphere did to me. Like, knowing that there was 96,000 people, just all like, I don't know if you saw like shots of the crowd when they play in like Sweet Carolina stuff. Like, the whole crowd was just buzzing and enjoying it. You know what I mean? So I prefer that, seeing all that, than the Sphere stuff, because like there was real to it.
I think what annoyed me the most out of the Sphere as I look back is like in between the fights and whatnot, there was no excitement. There wasn't anything. Like people just had their phones out, like filming the Sphere, like just filming what was going on, and it's just like people weren't there for the fights.
Yeah, that's
like,
it.
There was no
at Wembley. It felt like everyone was partying. You know, like you could literally see like everyone was just partying. Like even McGregor, you could see he was just doing, and you know,
he was coked out of his mind. It looked like to me.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think the Coke dealers in London did well that night, like with Fury and McGregor in town. You know, but
that was another funny one. Fury's reaction. Did you see it after AJ lost? He just sat there.
Fury was like, and he was all like, he was saying to Turkey, he was like, he's just ruined the payday. He's just ruined my big.
Yeah, he just
Like mate,
it just cost me millions of dollars or whatever.
Like no, you cost yourself millions of dollars. You've avoided this fight. Like you could have had these millions. Like we could have had a trilogy by now.
Yeah, we really could have. It could have avoided the whole Wilder fiasco. There was no need for 3 of those.
If Fury and AJ fought, Saudis might not even be in boxing right now. Like they might not be necessary. Like
because those promoters would have made so much money.
Yeah, because it would have made so much. So the 2 promoters would have pretty much been like, we don't need you. We can put this on ourselves.
Yeah, look how much we made by ourselves, yeah.
Yeah, and like that would have then meant the 2 promoters working together, Matchroom and Queensberry. So it would have bridged the gap that Saudi's already bridged. So part of me thinks if they would have done it, it might have stopped Saudi getting involved anyway.
Yeah, but they, that was the Saudi money was the easy money.
Yeah,
we'll do all of this. All you have to do is promote the fights. We'll do all of it.
Did you see how weird it was though? They did the Saudi Arabia national anthem before the fights.
I think that was kind of weird, but
it was weird.
Especially given all the hostilities that have been going on.
Well, that's it, yeah. Well, that's why.
A song in Arabic, it's just.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Arabic and all that. I mean, like Arabic's just always playing out through London anyway with all the mosques and stuff. But no, I just found it weird though. It felt like they bought us. Like it felt like we were owned by Saudi Arabia in that moment.
Yeah, there was no Saudi in the fight. There was no it was just because of the promotion.
Money. Yeah, it's just the money really. Which
hail your money.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if I paid all that money, I mean, I might want them to sing a song for me as well.
Sing me a song, right?
Yeah, sing me a song, bitches. But
Sure.
I can understand it in that sense, but I just think the fact that that's our national stadium, it just felt wrong. Like, and I know this might come across as xenophobic or whatever. I don't mean it in that way. I hate my national anthem because it's about an imaginary man in the sky and a bloody king.
God save the king.
Yeah, so like, I'm not trying to be like ours is better or anything like that, but it just felt weird. It left a weird like feeling seeing that. It's like I can't imagine that happening in America. Like it will happen in America. But
yeah, I mean,
it'd be weird to see the backlash of it.
Oh, I'm sure. Even, I mean, when we play the Canadian national anthem at certain events, when hockey and stuff like that, and I mean, we even play UK national anthem for like certain things and whatnot. But even those times, it's a little like,
yeah, so
people
like,
get a little.
No, yeah, it's the same here. Don't get me wrong. Like, obviously, there's that patriotism that's like sometimes going too far, the wrong way. So you have all them guys that anything that's remotely, slightly less English that they're really angry about. Like, so obviously there's all that. But yeah, I don't know. I think even like people like me are like, that was weird. And then like usually I wouldn't care about a song, but it just felt strange. It just didn't feel right.
Felt surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you on that. But I mean, the event was a success. I mean, it was a very, very big success, and
It was.
like I said, the co-main and the main ended with vicious knockouts, and the memes from AJ being knocked out were some of the greatest I've seen.
Yeah, brutal, man. Leave him alone.
And then obviously you have the people who are a little more cynical and say that the fight was fixed.
Yeah.
And I was joking when I messaged you that, by the way. I don't know if you got that.
I saw what you mean. I know what that was about. Like where he's like that. Yeah. So basically, what everyone in the UK are saying is because AJ got knocked out, and like that's one of his favourites in it. So, like basically, they wanted to film his reaction because obviously the UK broadcasters know that he's not going to be happy that AJ's just been knocked out because his whole life plan is to get Fury and AJ in the ring, innit?
Well, his life plan probably will not come to fruition anytime soon. So
I know, yeah. But I still watch it. Like I don't think you have to be coming off a win for that fight to be interesting. Fury AJ.
I mean, right now they're both coming off of losses. You know?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
they're both on equal footing in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, technically, Fury could be coming off 3 losses, like by the end of it. Like, because I don't look at that Ngannou fight as a win.
Yeah,
that was a loss. Like even though I do think he won the boxing contest, I still think it was a loss just because of how everyone looks at it. You know,
and how looking what AJ did, you know,
yeah.
That made it look very easy.
Yeah, I mean that's why I still say AJ beats Fury because AJ is the same size as Ngannou, and as you see when Fury fights someone his size like Wilder and Ngannou, they get in close and they manage to clip him, and I don't think you get up from AJ. You know what I mean? So, or if you do, he's going to press and put you down again. So yeah, to bring it back to that is why I do think that. I think when he fights someone his own size, he really struggles.
Yeah, I think he has that intimidation factor. He is a big guy, but somebody who's mentally strong and then won't back down. Like I rewatched the Wilder Fury fight, the second one recently, and that's a big size difference. Like that, they look like they're in 2 different weight classes. So to me, you know, Fury uses that size and that jab, and then whatever he does with his gloves to make his hand look longer.
Like, where he flicks it out, doesn't he? Likes to flick the glove out.
Yeah. So that jab alone, I mean, he can hit you from 3 feet away with his jab. So I think he does a really good job with that. And he uses it to control range, and then he can hit fairly hard over the top. But once somebody gets in his face, you see Usyk, who had to get close.
Yeah.
Took it to him.
That's what I have noticed. He's not been able to fight at range for, I think, since Wilder won. I think was the last time I saw him fight at range successfully. I've noticed when he's tried it since, he's been basically marched down by the opponent.
Yeah, I think maybe that's a symptom of being knocked down like that. But what was the fight he had after that, but before Usyk, where he basically lost? Not Ngannou, but he got the big cut over his eye.
Yeah,
Wallen. Yeah. I think he lost that one too. It was pretty close. I mean, it wasn't, it wasn't a crazy win for him, but even that fight, he tried to get out of range and he got caught. So I mean, people might have figured him out, or he might have, he's on the wrong side of 30 now, so he's obviously losing a little pep in his step.
Part of it is he's lost his legs. I mean, I think that's why he didn't take the Klitschko rematch. I think he knew he couldn't sustain that kind of style for too long, and I think he thought, get away with it once against Klitschko, but to try it twice, you're going to get your head lifted off you eventually.
Yeah, I mean, that could be it. And everybody accuses him of running from big fights, so.
Yeah.
So we pretty much, I think we covered that topic pretty well.
Yeah.
There were no UFC fights this weekend, so that was kind
No,
of our main source of entertainment.
I know. Yeah, what we're gonna do?
No,
So
one thing I wanted to talk to you about though, because obviously we haven't talked a whole lot, and you've been working on a project, and I know it's not combat sports, but I wanted to see if you'd be willing to kind of divulge some of the information there, and I wanted to
yeah,
talk about that a little bit.
yeah, I don't mind. So basically, about 10 years ago, well, so I'll tell you my first projects because I'm working on like 4
Okay.
currently at the moment. But the first one, about 20 years ago, I was doing my ancestry stuff, and I found this one ancestor of mine called Helen Bloke. You could Google her if you want. And essentially, she became the Empress of Morocco. So she got kidnapped by pirates and then put to the slave market. And then the Sultan bought her and then took her in as part of his harem. And she managed to basically like work her way up the court. And so that was my great granddad's sister, right, from Perth. And so the video I'm doing is it's a video of 2 halves. The first half is like the story I got told, passed down to me. I've added a bit of fiction into it to make it like flow a bit better. And then the second half, I basically just tell the biography of her life, like the historically accurate story of her life. But yeah, so basically, I'm such a perfectionist. I've wrote this script about 6 times, and then I'll come to narrating it, and then I'll be like, nah, I don't like the flow. So that's basically where I'm at. The video has been finished. Well, it's been written for like about a week, but I just keep going back. I just want to get the flow just right to how I tell it.
Yeah, I think that comes from your musical background, and obviously you want to honor your ancestor. But for me, that's really awesome that you have that history that you can look back to. Because obviously, I went to school to be a historian. That's what I have my degree in. So to be able to trace your ancestry back and like tell that story, you want to do it justice and you want to do it right. But at some point, just as person to person, perfect is never going to be attained.
Oh yeah, that's it.
And then
I just have to make that leap. But,
yeah, just remember that just because it's on the internet doesn't mean you can't like redo it again, and make it better how you want to in the future.
Yeah.
But telling that story, that's phenomenal. I just quickly Googled it. She was the favorite slave of the Sultan, 1750 to 1790. She became referred to as the Empress of Morocco for being the favorite slave of Mohammed bin Abdallah, the Sultan of Morocco.
He's someone's favorite slave, I imagine. But yeah, apparently, like, so because she's from Scotland, she had like ginger hair, and she was very pale, and she had green eyes. So when she went to Morocco, not many people have seen that before. So apparently, a lot of people just fell in love with her straight away. So yeah, I always found that interesting because she was 19, I think, when she got kidnapped. So I don't know how you want to call it, but when she got put into slavery, and I always think it's crazy. Imagine going through that at the age of 19, like marrying a sultan and all that craziness.
Yeah, man, I'm sorry. I'm entranced. I'm looking. There's like commissioned paintings. There's like she's very, very famous.
How fucked up is this? Yeah, while I was studying, I've read about 3 erotic novels about my great ancestor.
You're like, do I read this for historical data?
Yeah, that's literally what I've been like. Like, luckily AI exists, so I've been able to
summarize this book for me.
Yeah, but yeah, like I found that weird. I was thinking, I've got to be one of the few people in history that has read erotic novels about the great grand or whatever she is to me, auntie or something.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I'm going to start off with, but that's not going to necessarily be the style of the channel. It's gonna be. I am gonna try and do long form, like videos, and a lot of it's gonna be quite informative. But I don't want to just stick to one kind of subject. So I'm gonna do, the comedian Tom Segura.
Of course.
I'm gonna do one about him where there's just some stuff I've noticed, which is quite funny with him, and I'm kind of using his own brand of comedy against him in this video, which I find funny.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that. I'm doing another separate one just about comedy in general, like the state where it's at, because in USA, I think your comedy tries to lean towards the right a lot with Joe Rogan and free speech and all that jazz, whereas in the UK, it seems to lean really to the left. You know, like how your TV comedy works with like SNL, like they're very left leaning. It's like that here as well, but over here, it's hard to find any comedians that have anything other than a left wing opinion. So doing that as well, because I always like comedy, and then I'm gonna do another, like basically watching this weekend. Mainly, want to do a documentary about Anthony Joshua, because I feel like this week all what he's gonna get is just negative videos. So I just want to do a documentary about him just to show, where he's come from and all that stuff.
And is that something you're going to personally narrate, or is that something you're going to AI? Or
no, I'm going to narrate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a basic script, and then I'll run it through AI, and then I'll just tighten it up through AI essentially. So that's what keeps taking me so long, because I'll write a script and then it's like, let me try and tighten it up, and then I'll run it through AI, and then AI will change something, and then I might like it, or I might like the premise of what they're doing, but not like how they executed it. So then I'll be like rewriting it and then running it through again to see if they can improve it. So it's just like constantly searching for improvements.
Yep, that quest for perfection. I get it.
Yeah,
that's cool though. I admire your dedication to multiple projects at one time, and I'm glad you have a little bit more free time to do that. So I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, if there's anything I can do on my end to help you out, if you need, me to read over something or hear it, and if from a different ear or whatever, obviously I'm here for that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if I won't mind you giving a proofread of one of my scripts, like just essentially to just. I think it's good, but sometimes I'm just like with another human, or
that's what I'm saying. Like you need that outside perspective just to see. Yeah.
And like sometimes I think I write very British, so sometimes I'm like, would this pace translate to an American kind of thing? Because as a writer, this sounds pretentious, so I don't think I'm this good. But as a writer, I write similar to Guy Ritchie. Like I like the fast-paced monologue with the grittiness, So like I always would like to see if that can translate.
Oh man, I love Guy Ritchie movies, man. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, me too, man. Yeah. Me too. So Lock,
Stock, Three Loaded Barrels, like that. Oh, man, that's love them.
My Helen Globe one is gonna be in the style of the Guy Ritchie monologue. Like that is literally how I'm writing it.
Yeah.
Like, I've actually played with this premise before in the past of the Guy Ritchie style. I'll see if I can get it up on my YouTube quickly.
Yeah, that's I love it. I like the big transitions, the big cinematic shots, but then you have these characters always in Guy Ritchie movies who are like real people. Like you could see that they could be real people you meet, but they're just like heightened ever so slightly to be acted. But you're like, I know a guy like that. Like I've met that guy before.
Like you mentioned Snatch, like Vinnie Jones is a ex-football player who plays a main character in Snatch. Like that is literally Vinnie Jones. You know what I mean? Like
that is the guy.
yeah. Like he's a violent madman on the football pitch, and then like they kind of use that for his acting as well.
Yeah, no, I just I do admire. That was one of my brother's favorite directors as well. So
Yeah, you can't beat Guy.
introduced me.
Yeah, it's like I literally like what we all grew up on in England, like my generation. So it's like I think a lot of what my generation will do, they won't even realise is like inspired by Guy Ritchie kind of style, like, and they don't even know that. You know what I mean? So like, I'm kind of glad that you knew him. So because I do want it to be apparent that I'm inspired by his style. You know what I mean? Because he's always told, like, Guy Ritchie's always been great at like capturing Englishness or Britishness as well.
Britishness, yeah, that's what we would say.
Like even when he got Brad Pitt like in Snatch, and he gets Brad Pitt to just play a gypsy that speak English, like, to me that was just perfect.
Gypsy boxer, like.
Yeah, because I mean, look at Fury, like that's very common in England, like big communities like that. So like, to use Brad Pitt, like, you got this huge star, and it's like, right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get you to play this character that can barely speak English. And that's going to be your main role, and I like that about him as well. Is he gets a random football player, never acted before. That's his lead guy, and then he's got Brad Pitt, who just has a little minor role. Like, it's so perfect.
No, it's good. How do you feel about Rock and Rolla?
I liked it.
I like Rock and Rolla a lot. I'm going to be honest with you. That's probably my favorite Guy Ritchie movie. Do I say that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to have a favorite. I mean,
yeah, it's really good.
More modern, isn't it? So
yeah,
I reckon that'll be people's least favorite because it's more modern. Like, if that makes sense. Sure. But I thought it was great, and I loved it. Like, it didn't feel different to like Snatch or Lock, Stock, you know. So yeah, it was awesome, man.
Yeah. Did you find the video you were looking for?
Yeah. So like, I won't play it for too long, but this is like a GTA series that I did, and I wanted it to play out like a Guy Ritchie kind of monologue.
What's up, people? Welcome to the Muddy Wolf channel. I'm Muddy Wolf, and this is my new GTA live story. Before I get into it, I just want to say thanks for viewing the video.
I hate all this stuff at the start.
Moonlighting as a taxi man and realising the old Rob De Niro movie is basically a documentary. Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
Yeah, it's a bit rubbish, but
decided to see what works as Sam wanted for us. So she phoned us.
It's hard to show you. Like,
no, it's fine. It's the voiceover. It's the I got
you.
You.
Like the music, like the James Brown kind of like soul funky music. Yeah. So that's what I'm gonna try and do with the Helen Globe one as well, is like where the music feels like it's a Guy Ritchie thing, but also the monologue, and like
I would be interested to see it because it's based on one of your ancestors. So how do you play it straight and entertaining at the same time? I'd be interested.
That's where like I've been a bit clever. So I tell a fictional story like that was passed down, because the story I got told about Helen Globe doesn't match the one on the internet. So, and I've tried researching the story I got told, and I can't find it. So I think that was just a bit of Chinese whispers, the story we get told. So I've told that, and then kind of added some fiction to it to make it a bit more epic. And then when we get to the end of that story, then I'm like, whoa, snap back to reality, and then I tell the actual story, and then obviously that'll probably be less Guy Ritchie style, because it'll be more informative,
Yeah, I could see how you could take it like the enhanced version of like what people have told you and make it really like epic and hardcore, and then you get that record scratch moment, like, and then you snap back to reality. So I can see that.
Yeah, that's the plan, really, is because it's quite a elaborate story anyway, as it is. And then, so I thought, let me just make it just ridiculously elaborate, because King George was the king at that time. So
Which one?
Story, the third. So the story we got told, my family got told, is that Helen's dad was like a famous blacksmith, and that he hosted King George like for a night or something, and he also sold him swords and stuff like that. So King George was like a mad king, wasn't he? Like I don't know if you know much about him, but like he's renowned for being a crazy king. So I've incorporated a lot of him and a lot of his craziness into the story.
I'm trying to remember British history, late 1700s.
He lost the American colonies.
Of course, right. But he spoke German, didn't he?
He spoke what? German?
German?
Well, yeah, I think they all do, don't they? To be honest.
I mean, up until that, I think he was like the last.
Oh, the last
maybe,
actual German monarch.
Yeah, like that spoke like German as a primary. I could be wrong on that, but I do remember a famous quote from George on the day we declared our independence. I think it was either in a journal or to one of his advisors. He said, "Nothing of importance happened today." On the day that we, America declared its independence. That was his like famous quote in America.
That's like just try to downplay it. Like, oh yeah, nothing happened.
Yeah.
He comes into the story a lot because I wanted to incorporate him into it because like there's a lot of stories about him being mad. Like when we was in school, like I think it's just propaganda because he lost America, but like we hear all these stories. Mad King George.
King George, yeah.
Yeah, he thought the French were living in his head, and he talked to trees and. He'd consult the moon over like political discourse and stuff like that. So, like, I wanted to include him in it and have some capers with him, and because that period, I just thought there's a lot that you can play with the king just losing the American colonies, like Morocco. It was kind of like in a state where it was becoming more of a legal state. Like it was using pirates a lot, like to do a lot of stuff at the time, but it was also trying to become more diplomatic, I suppose is the word. So there was a lot to play with the history of the time. So
no, that's awesome. I look forward. So I mean, I don't want you to give away any of the secrets or anything that you have planned, but how are you going to present it visually? Like, is it going to be like AI art? Is it going to be just you in front of a camera doing skits? Like, how is that going to work?
No, yeah, I'm going to try and stay off the camera. So it's just going to be mostly AI art and stuff like that. So what I've done is I've asked ChatGPT to give me prompts and cues for what that recommends visually. And then I tried doing some of it because there's some scenes in it that are a bit adult, 18 plus, like, you know what I mean? So
sure.
That would give me a suggestion, and then I'll try and do it, and it'll be like, oh no, this doesn't fit into our guidelines.
Sure.
So I've had to prompt it lots of times to be like, give me suggestions that do fit into your guidelines, because basically there's a scene where she's pantless, she shat herself and she's pantless. I know that sounds mad, but it suggested that that would do the art, and I was thinking, you really think you want to do that scene for the art? So I was like, let me see if you'd actually do it. So I did the prompts, and it was like, no, that's not within our guidelines. And I'm like, well, of course it's not. It's a 19-year-old girl, pantsless, with shit all over herself. Like, of course you're not going to do that.
You know what will do it, though? Twitter.
Yeah, I know.
Twitter's AI.
Yeah.
I mean, I have premium, so if you give me some prompts, I can give you some. I'll screenshot some of the art that it generates, whatever you need.
Yeah,
might as well use it.
Yeah, I might have to do that because it's quite a limited ChatGPT. I didn't realise it's scared. Like that, the best way of putting it is it's scared to offend. And it's like your AI. Don't be scared to offend.
Yeah, right. It's because they are politically correct and they don't want to alienate somebody.
I know, but you can't not alienate. Like everything we do, it's going to leave someone out. You know what I mean? That's what annoys me though, is like when AI even has to be like centered around offending people and stuff like that. It's like bloody AI. Like, it's so weird.
Right. It's like you're not a real person. You can't, like, you can't offend someone. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah. Like, you can't get offended by what something's been prompted to do. Like, it's so. I mean, I suppose you can in some senses. Like, I suppose if 9/11 come around and I just used it to do like loads of like planes crashing into things, that, you know, I could understand that, but
Yeah, I mean, sure. But free speech is free speech, even if you don't agree with it.
no, yeah.
Maybe that's American in me.
No, I agree, man. I totally agree. Like, obviously, I think with free speech comes freedom of actions and freedom of reactions to that speech. So the people I hate the most are the ones that want free speech but then don't want consequences for that.
That's a popular saying that we have, especially like in libertarian circles. Just because you have freedom of speech doesn't mean you have freedom of consequences. You're going to be an asshole and say something rude or disrespectful, somebody's going to respond in a similar manner. And you can't get all pissy or offended because somebody's doing to you what you did to them.
That's it. So that's why I don't think, like, you know, people want to ban certain genres of comedy and stuff like that. Like, I don't think that should be the case. Like,
no.
Like, obviously, there's certain, maybe don't put it on TV, don't promote it. But if that's how people want to joke about and have a laugh, then do it. And if you're not offended by it, or if you're not annoyed, then go and find a comedian that can do the opposite of that, you know.
Yeah. We got Marie in the chat. That's my sister. Hello. She said, I love free speech. Yeah, I think to going back to the comedy thing, like people, oh, you can't joke about that. You can't say those things. This is a protected whatever. Like, that's absolute insanity. If you can't joke about like anything, then like our society is collapsing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like I think it was George Carlin, if you're familiar with George Carlin.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, you can't joke about rape. But then he makes a joke about Daffy Duck raping Elmer Fudd. He's like, you can joke about rape. It's just the context. Yeah. Everything exists in context.
And everything can be funny. It's like that just made me laugh then, just Elmer Fudd and whoever it was. Like, just the thought of that. Like, obviously, I'll never laugh at something like that. But yeah, that's what's annoying me as well at the moment, is this whole... I don't know how to fully say it, but it's like, to me, I like I say, I think if someone wants to make racist jokes, let them. Like, just don't promote that, just don't put that out in the world. Like, that's what,
well,
you know,
the thing is, like, that lets people know like their mentality. So again, just because you're free to say those things, that you know who to avoid, you know who needs the consequences for their actions. And, you know, just like, that's not your brand of comedy. Don't laugh at them. Don't give them the limelight.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like they've shown you who they are. Ignore them.
I'm a big fan of, like, try to think of a good example of it, like a modern day one. I suppose Shane Gillis kind of fits into this. Where Shane Gillis, I always feel, is just trying to be funny. Where he's not trying to, like, pander to the left or the right. He will joke about either side just because he finds it funny. Whereas, if you look at like maybe someone like Joe Rogan, who's one of his mates, like, Joe will always try and pander to a certain side or a certain way of seeing things. And, like, I'm not a big fan of that, but that's why I'll never go to the mothership. That's why I'd never pay for a ticket, because to me, what they do is not comedy. What they do is just... I'm going to say stuff that I know my audience agrees with, and my audience are going to laugh at that to show me how much they agree with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
how do you feel about Jimmy Carr?
Yeah, he's gone that route, hasn't he? I loved Jimmy Carr growing up, like, but he's going down that whole route of, oh, this is too shocking for Netflix, and
yeah,
like, you don't
his older specials, he was very like, I don't care. Like this is funny, and I'll laugh at it.
His older stuff was actually
Shock
too
was
for TV. It was actually too bad for Netflix. Like that's just how that's what annoys me with Jimmy Carr doing this. It's like that's how you've always been. So you don't need to sell that as like a selling point for your content because like you've always been that way. It's like Ricky Gervais trying to do it. Like Ricky Gervais, I don't think he's that funny. I don't think he's that much of a great comedian. But he's doing the same thing. It's like, oh, but they're too scared of what I'm saying. And it's like, it's not. Like, just be funny and people will buy your stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I like Ricky Gervais' like first 2 stand-ups he did in America. I thought they were really good. The last one he did wasn't really great, but when he was being edgy and kind of, that before it was all about being rich and British, it was about offending people, like purposely offending people. But now he's so rich and he's British and those are his jokes now.
Yeah, you get the feeling like he actually looks down at you now, don't you?
Yes, like, exactly. Yep.
Like
because he made The Office.
Yeah, like back in the day, it was like he was on a level playing field with us, so you could relate to him. Whereas now it's like, oh, you're all shit and I'm great. Like that's the vibe I get off it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's quite funny, but he's always done the same thing. I think of that cheap laugh, that like, oh, this crowd's not laughing because what you've said's funny. This crowd's laughing because they agree with what you've just said.
Whatever I've said, right?
Yeah, and they want to also pick the people that you're targeting in your comedy, by laughing. Which, don't get me wrong, like I grew up watching like Frankie Boyle, Jimmy Carr, so I come from that kind of edgy comedy. But I always felt like those guys were that way inclined naturally, whereas Ricky, I feel like he tries for it. Like he tries hard to be that way.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, his older stuff for me just had a different vibe for it. It had a different feel. Whereas now it's he's so rich and so famous, he just plays off of that. And I don't know. I think there comes a point in most comedians where you just hit that wall and people are just used to what you're saying. Yeah. Like I don't know if you saw Joe Rogan's last stand-up.
Oh mate, I did. Did you watch it? It was so terrible. Like
I didn't like it. Yeah.
Do you know what? This is part of my comedy thing, right? Is a lot of the stuff that these comedians accused others of is now stuff they're doing. So Joe Rogan was like quite famous for that whole Carlos Mencia thing, where he called this comedian out for stealing jokes.
Stealing jokes, yep.
In his last special, he stole 2 jokes off Brendan Schaub, and Brendan Schaub's the worst comedian ever anyway. So the fact that you're stealing jokes off that guy...
That's like they're BFFs, though. They can just share.
I know, but yeah, it's just weird. It's like Joe always talks about how much he writes every night and how he's got this comedy brain and all this stuff. And yet, his special was just 2019 talking points.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that great. I mean, the 2 he did on Netflix before that, I liked them.
Yeah.
This last one, it was,
Yeah, I've never rated him as a comedian though, because again, I feel he's very hacky. Like he'll shag a stool, or he'll just shout, like. So instead of actually saying something funny, he will say something unfunny in a funny way.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know.
It's like the complete opposite of like Mitch Hedberg, if you're familiar.
No, I'm not sure.
Okay, he was an American comedian like the 90s. He passed away because of drugs and whatnot. But he'd say like the funniest stuff in like the most deadpan way. Yeah. I don't know. It was just like he'd just completely keep a straight face and just say something that's off the wall.
Like Mr. Bean, I forget his actual name.
Yeah, Rowan Atkinson.
Rowan Atkinson, he's great at that. Of like just saying, like he can just say the word "boo," and the way how he says it's just hilarious the way how he moves his lips to say it.
I know it's silly and childish, but Mr. Bean, man, I used to love Mr. Bean.
Yeah, I still have to watch it nearly every week. At least once a week I have to watch it because like my nieces, like, it's all they watch is the cartoon version.
Oh right, yeah, the cartoon of Bean.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I have to watch it like at least once a week. Like it's not as good as the old version, but
I mean, that guy made so much money saying like 3 words.
I know. But yeah, like, you know what? He's someone that I look at as a proper comedian.
Oh, he's
like,
a comedian, 100%. Yeah.
That can just be funny, like similar to Jim Carrey. If you want an American version of that, like someone that could write a funny script, could do slapstick, could do every bit of comedy. Like, yeah, you can't beat guys like that.
No, yeah, I like that we went down the comedy route just because that's kind of what my YouTube channel started as, just me and my brother doing comedy silliness. So that's one of the things that I really like watching comedy, and I like performing comedy. I think it's funny. I think it's a good exercise in your creativity because unless you've actually tried to do it, like tried to make people laugh, like that's hard work. Like, like properly doing it like in a scripted way is very hard work. And that's like,
it really is. Like I'm learning that now, like rewriting this all the time because it's easy to write something that looks funny to read it up, like to read it in your mind, but then to write it for it to flow funny is totally different. Like you've got to proper cue yourself and stuff like that. I have written comedy stuff before, like that was for stage and stuff like that. But I don't know, for some reason with this one, I'm so more aware that every line can just be replayed and they can just literally break down every line. Whereas if you write something for stage, it kind of, the actor can fumble it and then still get a laugh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bit different.
No, I completely understand. I mean, I haven't really disclosed this to anybody beyond Alicia, but I'm actively writing a book, like a proper novel, and it's a comedy, and it's. I'm like, here, is this funny? Can you read this? Does this work? Is this like? I'm always trying to second guess myself. Like it's very, very difficult, and it's something I like in my head. I can see it and I can hear it. It's funny. When I go to put it on paper, I'm like, that just sounds awful. That doesn't work at all.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, like I have an ongoing gag in the Helen Globe one, where it's just like, and then part of me was like, is this just childish and silly? But then I'm like, yeah, but that's why it's funny though.
That's why it's in there.
Yeah. So then I'm like, people are gonna watch this and they're gonna be like, oh, it's so childish, but then it's like, yeah, but that's the point. Like, that's the whole. That's why you laugh.
That's why it works, right?
And that's why I put it in 3 times because it's like the surprise of it is like he's not going to do this guy. He's just.
He's going to do it again.
I can't believe he's done it. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, that's great. No, I mean honestly, if you want to send me the script or whatever, I'd be more than happy to take a look at it.
Yeah.
And then
I'll probably copy and paste it to you tomorrow.
Sure.
Because I feel like I'm done with it, and I just want to get it down now. And like sometimes, I understand that some things won't translate, obviously as well. So probably stuff that you'll probably look at and think, oh, that don't know what that's about. But it just it is what it is. It's like it's not going to be a visual script, so hopefully it should be quite easy to follow.
No, I mean, it's just going to depend on what the follow-through is and how it presents. But like I said, I can look it over for context and for flow and stuff like that. That'd be no problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big issue. I don't know how we got on comedy, but I think that's the big issue with comedy and with people these days. Like, they're just trying to ram their viewpoints down your throat. Yeah. And they're trying to like, do this. I like this. Like it's like comedy should be like a natural thing.
Yeah, like comedy's become more of like hi, this is my ethics, and this is what I think, and this is how I live, and this is how I think you should live, and this is how, and I don't like how people live this way, and it's like now,
aren't they so funny for being different than me?
yeah, and it's like, oh, aren't they so funny for being less than me, and all this stuff. Where to me, comedy's just always been just about being funny. So sometimes you can demean a group and look down your nose at a group, but as long as you're doing it just for the funnies, I don't mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but people reveal their true intentionalities and their true selves sometimes. And it's just this is how you really feel. This is who you really are.
Yeah, exactly. Like when the content is literally like always based around it, like you can tell like that's a message to try to get out rather than it just be funny. But yeah, like that's one thing I think I am going to focus quite a bit on, because what I watch a lot on YouTube is other YouTubers commentating on the Roman Sphere like group of comedians and like all their podcasts, and so I think that's the space I'm going to try and jump into a bit and add my like 2 cents, because it's ongoing. Every week they're always doing a new podcast.
There's something new, right?
Yeah, and like, so for instance, like next week, Tom Segura could be attacking poor people because a taxi driver was rude to him or something. So then that'll be a whole thing. And then
I'm sure you could generate a lot of clicks and a lot of interest and stuff like that, because it's always fresh. It's always new. Tom Segura effed up again, like.
That's it, yeah. And like, I find it funny how these guys, they think they're on the forefront of freedom of speech, but yet they get like videos taken down and stuff like that. So it's like, what side are you on? Like, I watched one about Tim Dillon recently, where someone jokingly had done this whole video essay about him being gay, right? And it was very clearly just funny, yeah? It was like, because he is quite fruity, and just someone was just being funny, like, and then they linked it to Joe Rogan, and they also linked it to, who's the other dead gay one? Tony Hinchcliffe, yeah? So they linked all them three together as, like, some gay, like...
some trio of gays.
Yeah, that like, rolling comedy. It was just funny, like, just very clearly funny.
Right.
Tim Dillon's team got that took down, and he's like one of the biggest ones going on about freedom of speech and all this stuff. But yeah, when it's aimed towards you and someone's laughing at you, you don't want it.
No. So, I mean, I'll say this, just so it's perfectly clear on my behalf. If you have anything that you want to make a video about me, I don't know how you feel, how you feel. But if anybody wants to make... No, I'm saying, well, I was just trying to point to you. So anybody wants to make a video about me, I don't care. I'm not going to take it down. I'm not going to file any kind of complaint. But if it's going to be about me, at least crop him out so he's not, part of my barrage. But yeah, I don't care. I mean, I don't care. That's what I'm saying. Like, to me, like, if it's comedy, it's comedy, man. Like, I don't care. Like, how do I say it? I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but it's like...
Like, we did this stuff against this guy. We ended up calling it chili beef. I can't remember exactly how it all went down. And it's like, that got so absurd. Like, it was just so clear that, right, these guys aren't attacking him, they're just poking him and they're just having fun. Like, kind of at his expense, but also it's so absurd that anyone can have a laugh,
Yeah, and when you punch the wall.
Yeah. And to be honest though, people like him are very parodiable. Is that a word?
Very easy. Yes. Yeah. They can. It's just, I think, what's funny though, now that I'm thinking back to it, this was 5-6 years ago now, and he made that tearful video, his girlfriend broke up with him or whatever it was. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But that was also the time where, like, a bunch of really big YouTubers were making apology videos for like random shit. And like I feel like he was just playing a character.
Yeah.
Like I'm putting it together, like going, that probably wasn't even real.
Oh yeah, that's the vibe I got. Was like it just was made up, and like it's similar to what you were saying. It's like he wanted to play that role of the big YouTuber, so he acknowledged that he had to do everything they do. So in that time, we were all crying in front of camera because they were all like, being called out for being paedophiles and stuff. So he thought, right, in order to look like this big YouTuber, I have to do
a crying to the camera.
Yeah.
So then we take it to the most absurd length possible.
Yeah.
Over some stolen Chinese takeout or something. Like what the heck?
I remember I went a bit too far because I suggested like, how did it play out now? Again, this is how I agree with like, you can be slightly racist as long as it's absurd, because he talks about it being Chinese. So I found a picture of a dog in someone's belly, and like I meant that as like, yeah, a dog, like they ate a dog together. But someone accused me of being like racist for suggesting that she got pregnant to a dog.
Oh God!
A joke. Like the joke was that
the joke went over their head,
which is still racist anyway. Like you can still call me racist for that because it still is. But yeah, like that one annoyed me because I was like, they are actually right. It is a racist.
But you're
joke.
right for the wrong reason.
Yeah, but you're wrong. Like, I just want to say thanks for stopping by as well, Marie. Sorry if I've not acknowledged you so far. You also have the same name as my mum.
Oh, your mom's name, Marie?
Yeah.
Nice. But, yeah, so, anyway, comedy.
Yeah. So who's your favourite then? Who would you say, like, your favourite comedians were or are?
You know, I grew up, like, Eddie Murphy with Raw.
Yeah.
I loved it. Like, that level of absurdity. And I know it's taboo to say, but even like Bill Cosby and his stand-up comedies were great. Obviously, I don't condone the person, but I'm separating the art from the artist here. And like his stand-ups, it's just like, because it was all everyday stuff, you know, and it was just funny.
A bit goofy and yeah.
So I like, and then Dave Chappelle. Obviously, I love Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle's like a legend. But I think
Dave Chappelle a little because I was telling my missus how good he was because like my ex, she didn't really grow up like she was mixed race, but she grew up very white, so she didn't really know much of like black culture, like so. I remember telling her about Dave Chappelle, and she only ever heard of him through trying to get cancelled with the trans stuff. So she was like, "Oh, I don't think I'd like him." And I'm like, "No, that's not a representation of him. Like, he's genuinely a funny guy.
Very funny. Yep.
Yeah." And then his new comedy special come out, so I was like, "Yeah, new Dave Chappelle." We watched it together, and it was so bad. Like, it was just he turned into a bit of a hack. You know what I mean? In his most recent one, and it let me down so much because I was like, "This isn't Dave Chappelle." Like,
let's watch the show. Just watch the Chappelle
that's
show.
That's what we did. We ended up watching Charlie Murphy. You know when Charlie Murphy tells all the Hollywood stories.
Oh yeah, he tells all the true Hollywood stories or whatever. Yeah,
we ended up watching that because that's the only thing I could find on YouTube, and I was like, "This is Dave Chappelle. Like, this is the guy I'm talking about."
Yeah, and then another one that I really, really liked was Sam Kinison. I don't know if you're familiar with Sam Kinison.
No, I'm not sure.
He's one of those guys who he would say funny stuff, but he would also one of those guys you probably wouldn't like, but he would say it in like the most absurd, like loud, funny way. Like he has this joke, right, about giving money to Africa. You know, we've got to feed the poor, right? He's like, you know what we could do, you know, is like, you know why we have to keep paying all this money is because you live in a fucking desert, you know, and he's like yelling. He's like, there's no fucking food. You live in a desert. He's like, you move to where the food is.
Yeah.
But it's just the way he says it. And
Yeah. I do
great.
like comedians that like emphasize the words, and like a big part of their funniness is how they deliver it.
Okay, good. Look up Sam Kinison. He's great. I love him.
Yeah, it's with Joe Rogan. I just feel like he uses it as a crutch. You know, like
I get you.
Not funny, and how he's delivering it also isn't that funny because he's just shouting it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And then I got two more on my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Eddie Izzard.
Yeah, he's funny. Yeah.
Great, like absolutely phenomenal. And then George Carlin. George Carlin would probably be like front and center, and then you'd have like Eddie, Dave Chappelle. And then probably Sam Kinison.
Yeah, that's a good one. I need to check out Sam Kinison.
Yeah, he's great. He's good. It's older stuff now, so it's a little dated. You know, but I mean, he was around in like the late '80s, early '90s, somewhere around there. So it's a little dated, but it's good, man.
No, yeah, that was the best era for it, wasn't it? Really, like, because that's when people were actually funny, and like you could push boundaries a bit as well in those days. But yeah, Mount Rushmore is so hard to do. But I'd have to start with Lee Evans. Have you ever heard of Lee Evans?
No. Explain.
So Lee Evans is hilarious. He's like very like Norman Wisdom, like in the sense of he can be physical, but he's also funny with his words. Lee Evans is my all-time favorite comedian.
Why he looks very familiar.
Yeah, he's been in movies. Like, so he was in, Fifth Element with Bruce.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis. He was in that. He was in a few movies like when I was young as well. So he wasn't just smashing it on stage; he was smashing it on big screen as well when I was a kid. So yeah, Lee Evans, man, he's musical as well. So he can do everything. Like he can play a piano and make a funny song, or he can just do. Like there's a scene that he finishes his show with where his piano runs away from him. Like he tries to get on his piano. And this is on stage, live on stage, and then the piano like runs away. So then he's like chasing after it, and like he's just one of them mad hilarious guys. I'm trying to think. Frankie Boyle, just because like when I was young, Frankie Boyle was he was quite like George Carlin in a sense, where he was very just honest and raw, but also like filthy though. It could be very filthy and disgusting. And he wrote for Jimmy Carr, Frankie Boyle, so a lot of Jimmy Carr's material was written by Frankie. Yeah. Who would put Jimmy Carr on it? So I've got Lee Evans, Frankie Boyle. It's so hard to do.
It is, yeah. I was like, do I want to put it?
Yeah, because I want a pun guy. I hate people that do puns, but I like the comedians that do puns, if that makes sense. Because they're really good at it, whereas the average person is just annoying with it. But, so I put someone like Tim Vine on there, because he's like a pun master. And then for my last one, probably go Peter Kay. Like, just because yours were all American, so I'm just thinking that.
No, Eddie Izzard. He's not American.
Oh yeah, so I should put American on there to counteract. Eddie Izzard don't count anyway.
He counts for 2 spots?
No, he's transnational.
No, I mean he can speak like 3 different languages or something.
Yeah,
like that.
he can.
He does full stand-up sets in French. Like, dude, is amazing.
Yeah, he's such an intelligent guy. Like people underestimate him like nowadays because they just see a trans person,
like an old British tranny. Yeah.
But mate, he is so funny. Right, so the last one. See, I could have just done Eddie Murphy or Chappelle. They're very easy to do.
Yeah.
Like you could do Pryor, go beyond.
I've only seen some of it. I've never really got into Richard Pryor. I think it was just a little too dated for me. But
yeah, do you know what? There was a tape when I was a kid. Someone gave me a tape, or I found a tape of Richard Pryor's, and I used to listen to it at night because he used to talk about like cocaine and hookers and just stuff that I knew I shouldn't be listening to. So I just, like that's my old Richard Pryor thing was. I just used to listen to this one audio tape at night, and it was like, I don't know if that's how he used to sell comedy, was through CDs and tapes. I think it was.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because like it seemed very, very well put together the way we did this tape, but it was raw. It was like proper, like you could tell he did this tape in like a proper shitty club in Harlem or something where he express himself, because it was proper raw, like. But yeah, so my last one I'll probably go with, you know what, someone who did what like Chappelle and Eddie did was sketch stuff, was Peter Kay in England. Like Peter Kay did great sketch comedy, so I'd put him on there because his comedy, his stand-up was really good, but also he could like create funny characters and stuff like that. So yeah, I reckon Peter Kay will be my last one.
That's a diverse group, and I think, I like stand-up a lot, but for me, like, some of the things that I found like the most funny was like the sketch comedy shows. Like, I don't know if you like obviously like Monty Python. Like, I know it's so cliche, but like the series Monty Python, like the actual sketches, not the movies and whatnot.
Yeah,
phenomenal. Like The Whitest Kids You Know. Are you familiar?
No, I'm not sure.
It says it was shitty American comedy, but it's just so great.
Yeah. Yeah, do you know what? What's funny, right? I think you'll love this. Is we have a show over here called Taskmaster, right? And what it is they get around 6 comedians, well-established comedians, and then they just make them do random tasks, and then film who's the best at doing that task. But because they're all comedians, it's just hilarious. Like, so I'm trying to think of a good example of a task. Like, so one might be get a letter. Who can get a letter to go from London to Manchester and back within the quickest time? And like, some of them might decide to just drive it themselves. Some of them might decide to send it by postman, or I don't know. I can't think of a good example, but it's so funny. Like, and it's real. It's improvised. It's all improvised. So that's what I find. Like, I love improvisation. So I love that.
Yeah. So you ever watch like Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
That's some of my. I love it. Used to watch that pretty religiously.
Yeah, same.
A lot of
the main guy, is it Clive something, or can't remember the guy's name, but yeah, I used to love that show. And like one of the guys off that went on to be on 2.5 Men with Charlie Sheen. And I remember watching it thinking, I know that guy from somewhere.
Where is he from? Yeah, it's and
I remember seeing the UK decided to rerun Whose Line Is It Anyway, and we remade it. I don't know if it's American or UK, but
I'm not sure.
So when they started rerunning the old episodes, I was like, no way, that's the guy out of the 2.5 Men.
That's funny. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, American TV. As a profession by Dan Patterson, are the original British radio program.
That makes
which
sense.
ran from 88 to 99, and the American TV program from 98 to 07. So it came British radio first, and then.
That's mad. I didn't know that. It kind of makes sense though. Because it is like, very like our radio, that, so it does make sense.
That was great. And just some of the things they come up with off the top of their head, like
Yeah.
it was an inspiration. My brother and I, when we started our YouTube channel, like we would have a premise, but we didn't script like anything, right?
Yeah.
So because we wanted it to be funny and flow, and it's just like, man, this is hard.
Isn't it?
It is very difficult.
I always say, I think in terms of comedy, I think rappers are the best at comedy.
You said rappers?
Yeah, because if you look at a lot of rappers, they're quite funny naturally. Like they'll put like funny lyrics or whatever.
You got to be quick-witted and.
Yeah, and I always think a comedian, they don't battle each other. Like it does happen. We have had comedy battle shows in the UK, but they don't really test each other out. Like whereas rappers do, they'll battle each other. So they're competitive with it, and they also have to rhyme everything as well. So you got to make it funny, you got to make it make sense, you got to make it rhyme, and you've also got to make sure that you are actually better than the guy coming up next to you, because you will actually battle each other as well. You know what I mean? So I've always theorized that rappers are like the best all around comedians. But maybe I'm just saying it because I'm a rapper. So
no, I get it. I can't remember the name of the show here. Damn. Anyway,
Wild 'N Out.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Wild 'N Out. Yeah, it's like it's comedy, but it's like song and rap and like hip hop and yeah, exactly. You know what Wild 'N Out is. Everybody here knows what Wild 'N Out is.
Yeah, I used to.
That was what I was trying to think of.
I referenced Wild 'N Out in my Helen Globe video. She turns up with a bunch of cannons, like, you know, from a ship, and like it said, like basically it was like she turned up with more cannons than if Nick's children decided to diss him on the show, something like that.
That's fun. Wow, that's great.
But yeah, that I used to love that Wild 'N Out. I never found it overly funny. Like, I just used to find like impressive with the freestyle rapping.
It's just at points it gets really funny. I mean,
yeah, gets corny though as well. Like, proper corny.
Definitely, for sure.
Did you ever watch Only Fools and Horses?
No.
No, I think you'd love that. Like, so it's like 70s, 80s, and I think it ran on to the 90s as well. And it's just about two brothers in London that are like, how do I put it? That are like hustlers. So they're always like selling stuff, buying stuff, and always just trying to make money. But oh mate, the comedy in it is just hilarious. Like, there's one scene, like, so in England, there's a common phrase, Trigger's broom, right? So there's a character called Trigger, and he comes in with this brush, and he's like, "This is my dad's brush, and my dad had this brush for 80 years, and he passed it down to me, and I've had it for another 50 years. He said, over the years, I've replaced the handle, and I've replaced the brush." And so then they're like, "Well, it's not your dad's brush then. You know, it's brush." So it's hard to explain, but it's all weird stuff like that, you know. And like, basically the goal is to always get rich. So there's always mad papers of them trying and make money. Like, yeah, it's hard to explain. It's so funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's always hard to explain comedy.
It is, yeah.
Like, if you have to explain it, it loses the funny.
Yeah, exactly.
But there is a show from the UK that I really got into a few years back, recommended to me by another British guy, as a matter of fact, called Him and Her.
Him and Her. I think I've seen. Yeah, is it got? I think I have seen that. Yeah.
So the whole premise is like it's literally shot in this apartment with the guy and the girl, and it's in their apartment, and like every single episode is just in their apartment, and like the whole like that's the gimmick, right? They never leave. but like
Yeah.
one of them will be gone, but the action will be hanging out at the apartment. So it's just like always the most ridiculous stuff. Like I remember they got into an argument over like a fruit, like a piece of fruit.
No,
It's
yeah.
just,
I
like,
haven't watched it, but I do know the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love stuff like that. Like recently, I watched a movie, and it was literally about an old lady getting put into a care home, and basically it was about her escaping the care home. And as you can imagine, if you've got your faculties still, and you're getting put into this care home where you're surrounded by people without their faculties, like you could have a lot of fun. So
right, yeah.
that's what this lady realizes, that wait, I can actually have fun here. You know what I mean?
Like I'm the sane one.
Yeah, and it's just this funny film about this old English lady who's just like causing mayhem in like a care home, but it's very dry and very like, you know what I mean? It doesn't come across as funny straight away until like you proper get into it. But yeah, I watched that recently. I love that.
What was that one called?
I can't remember, to be honest. Like, I wish I could, because I just really enjoyed it. Trying to think of another one that I saw recently that was quite like that as well. Yeah, I really like the dry ones. Like, try to think of a good example. Like in England, we have a lot of like just really dry comedy, like where it's not even doesn't even seem funny sometimes. But
yeah, that's like Faulty Towers.
Yeah, like similar to Faulty, yeah, where it's like based in a shop or something, like similar to Him and Her, where it's just based in one location, and it's just about like the
random stuff that happens. That's like. Yeah, that's I prefer dry, witty comedy to the over the top like craziness. You know, like when people are trying too hard.
It's like I was impressed recently with Tires. Have you seen that? It's Shane Gillis. It's on Netflix, I think, and it's literally just Shane Gillis, and they're running a tire shop, and it's just like that, like very dry, very funny, and yeah, like
I think I've seen the preview, but I haven't. Not the preview, like the thumbnail. I guess it was what it would be, but I haven't watched it.
I think you'd enjoy it because it's very dry and just it's just funny for the sake of being funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than trying hard.
Have you? Did you ever watch Trailer Park Boys?
Yeah, one of my favorites, Trailer Park Boys.
I love it. That's one of those that is just like, it's dry, but it's absurd. Like it's just
that's the perfect comedy for me, where it's like low budget, it's dry, it's very improvised, very like it just flows, it just flows.
Yeah.
And, did you watch the animated version of it?
No.
I was nearly in tears because obviously the actor that plays Jim Leahy died like a few years back, so they had a lot of his lines and stuff already,
already recorded.
So the only way they could get out a new season with him in it was to animate it, and like it was nice, man. It was nice to see him get a good send off. You know what I mean?
No, I think, that for me was great. I'll have to look into the animated. Is that on Netflix as well?
Yeah, that was on Netflix, yeah.
I got introduced to... By all means.
No, go on. You carry on.
No, I got introduced to Trailer Park Boys again through my brother. He had a DVD box set of the first season or whatever. He's like, you have to watch it. I'm like, what's it about? He's like, I don't know. These Canadian dudes live in a trailer park and they're just like really poor and they're trying to get rich and they're drug dealers. And I'm like, okay, sounds interesting.
Sounds good. That's how I discovered I quite like Canadian comedy, because whenever I've seen a I keep trying to say comedian instead of Canadian. Whenever I've seen Canadian comedians, they're very dry. Like, they're very dry and very just like whimsical, I suppose, is the word I can
Canadian,
say.
man.
Yeah, very Canadian, but I like that vibe, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I thought it was interesting because, it is Canadian, but it's also like poor white trash American country kind of vibe to it, like it's very similar.
That's
But
the
then,
thing. I think that translates to every country, and I think that's why it did so well. It's
yeah,
I think
yeah.
every country has that kind of set of people that are at the bottom, like try to do anything to hustle the way out. Like, I mean, I'm on like an equivalent of that. I've got an itchy back. But yeah, I'm on like an equivalent of like a trailer park, like close to that, you know what I mean? So it reminded me of where I live. It's like literally like similar stuff that the guys would do, like me and my mates would do and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, Ricky lives in his car and he has to move.
Yeah, yeah.
Get off my lawn. Like, oh man, he tries to get his girl back. Like, it's just so fun. Like, some of the shenanigans are just funny. I got to go back and watch it again. Now I think I get the itch to watch it again.
Yeah, I did it with my ex recently. We watched an English thing that was reminding me of that, and I kept saying we've got to watch Trailer Park Boys. It's like no. And then I put the first episode on. It's like, what the hell is this? It looks like it was filmed in like 1980, and I'm like, it probably was. Like, I said, like, I think that's the whole premise, is it's all done on the cheap, you know what I mean?
The cheapest possible they can do it, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they're so creative with how they write, man. Like, I love them. Like, Canadian royalty.
Yeah, they're great. Absolutely great. All right. It's getting a little late, and I know I started late. Is there anything you wanted to wrap up with? Anything you wanted to kind of look forward to for the weekend? Anything?
Well, I suppose we can discuss saying, fuck you, Michael Chandler.
Fuck Michael Chandler.
Nah,
I'm glad he got a fight, though. I mean,
yeah,
to be
that's
fair.
what I was going to say. Like, I am happy he's got a fight. I know we said this last week as well, but I don't want people to think I just hate him. Like, I like winding him up. I am buzzing he's got a fight, but he's annoying me already with it.
Oh, at the walk on, train harder than everybody else.
Yeah. And like, he's coming out now with this like, oh, this was the best career move I could have made.
After waiting 2 years.
Yeah, he's like, I got all this free promotion off the back of Conor McGregor. So it's like promotion I couldn't have paid for. And it's like, mate, your promoter should have done this for you. You know, the guy that you pay to promote it.
Not only that, but he was a champion in another MMA organization. He came in, and he had all this hype around him. Like, you could have done a lot, but you chose to sit. Like, he's been in good fights. Like, he's been Poirier with
in 2 years, right?
Justin with, like, he's been in good fights.
He has, and entertaining ones, not like like even the one with Oliveira was like such a good fight. But like, he's given it all this, but at the end of the day, he could have had 3-4 fights within this amount of time.
Yeah, at least 3.
And if those fights went how his fights usually went, like even the Tony Ferguson one, they're all you talk about his fights. So that would have promoted him as much as all this has promoted him.
Way more. Like, yeah, and he would have been making money the whole time.
Exactly. And he might have he'd probably be in a lot higher favour with a lot of the fans.
Yeah.
Like, people like me would probably just like him. Would probably be like, oh, Michael Chandler, he's great. He just fights whenever.
He's a fighter, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what...
It's like, Michael Chandler, oh, no, he's a dick. He's just this psycho.
Goober fucking douchebag guy. And...
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. I like his style in the same sense. I like Justin Gaethje's style. Is like, I don't like, if that makes sense. Like, it's so bad that it's good to watch.
Yeah. When two fighters go against the other who are like supremely technical, it usually gets a little boring.
Yeah.
Right. So when you have somebody who's just like throwing everything they can into a shot, like that's fun to watch.
Trying to slam people and just doing stupid stuff like you shouldn't do in a fight like he does. So, like, I am happy. Hopefully, we get to see a bit of Chandler Chaos back. But I'm not buying into his weird psychopathic way of I'm the hero, I was the one in the right, and all like.
Yeah.
One thing I can't stand about him is he's always got to have a narrative that makes him the hero all the time, and it's just like, bro, just be honest. You waited for a big payday, it didn't work out, and now you jumped into.
You took something else. Yep.
Yeah, like. Part of me wants him to lose, and then Charles get the Conor fight. Like that'll be hilarious.
Right, Oliveira versus McGregor. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, or even it might work out the way I wanted it to work out originally. Anyway, Dan Hooker fights Conor. Like, I think that would be ideal.
Conor's gonna have to have a fight, so.
Yeah. Well, Conor said recently he's adamant that the UFC are not giving him a fight on purpose to keep him on contract. And I think there is something to that because they're. I was watching Ariel Helwani explain this, so this isn't my information, but what as he explained is their TV contracts are coming up, are running out like in the next year, right? So if they have Conor McGregor on contracts, that'll help them negotiate a better deal.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, so if they let Conor fight now. And then he's only got one fight until his deal's done. So that'll be a hard sell. That'll be like, yeah, we've got Conor for one fight. You know what I mean? Whereas if they say that we've got Conor on contract, that's all they have to say now. So I do feel that is partly what's going on with Conor.
Could be. Yeah, it could be. I mean, that's a cynical take, but it could be the your biggest money maker is still under contract, so you're going to use that as a bargaining chip for sure.
Yeah, and I think like. If they get him a fight soon, he'll just walk from this contract. Like, you know what I mean? It's
he said he wants to do bare knuckle. He wants to go do all these other things. So
that's what I mean. It's very clear he wants to go off to bare knuckle because he owns bare knuckle now. So part of me is like, I do think there's been times where Conor's messed about in this whole build-up. Like, I'm not trying to say he's not done anything either. But I do feel like this recent one was the UFC. Like the most recent two, I feel was the UFC. Just from how Conor's been reacting to it, is like Conor seems proper pissed off, and it's what he's like. If he's purposely made Chandler wait for 2 years, he'd be constantly bragging about that. He'd be constantly like, you're a dickhead. I've made you wait," but he's not doing that. He's getting frustrated at the UFC, so. That I think that's part of what's going on as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know. I think I've gotten Conor fatigue. Like I'm just tired of hearing about it. Like I'll watch him whenever he does decide to fight, or when the UFC finally decides to let him fight. But like I'm just tired of hearing about it.
Yeah, no, same.
How long has it been since he fought? When was his last fight?
2 years ago now, wasn't it? It's like it's similar with the John Jones thing. It's like, just stop going on about him.
Mm-hmm.
Which is ironic because I'm going on about him.
Right, exactly.
But that's the thing is like, in terms of the promotion, UFC, like promote your other stars. Like stop promoting these guys that don't need any promotion. Like promote the ones that actually need it. Like, and try to think now. So, you got this Moicano versus Saint Denis fight coming up. Mm-hmm. If those guys got promoted more, both of them, they'd be a lot bigger stars.
Especially Moicano's coming on his 3-fight win streak. He's coming in hot.
Really well on YouTube and all that. He's promoting himself really well. I think.
Imagine if UFC got behind him.
Yeah, he's just done an interview with MMA Guru, which I think doing stuff like that really helps you. It just helps you with the fans, basically.
Yeah.
And like, so the fact that MMA Guru is interviewing him and stuff shows that the fans are interested in him. So if he just had that little bit more promotion off his promotion company, he could be a next big star. That's what frustrates me with UFC. Like, they promote the ones that don't need it, and then the ones that just need that little bit extra push.
They milk it. Yeah, they're bleeding dry. The people.
Yeah, it's like in boxing, you don't ever hear that. You don't ever hear promoters say, "Oh well, he's not getting this fight because he's not promoting himself enough. He needs to promote himself better." You never hear that because it's the promoter's job.
The promoter should be doing that, exactly.
Yeah. Like Joshua, we don't know much about him as a person. Yeah, we don't know what his hobbies are. We don't know, what his musical take. Little things like that. Purely because he's not needed to promote himself. He's not needed to be relatable to people, like, because his promoter's done that for him. Like, whereas in the UFC, it just doesn't work. Like, they have to make themselves stars to then get promoted by the UFC. Like, it's so backwards.
Yeah, it's weird how they do that. And then even some of their champions, like the UFC champions, they don't promote. And like that's your champion. You should be promoting that person. It's so weird.
It is. Like Merab and Bilal are going to get this now.
Yes, they are 100%.
Any promotion.
But it's the same thing for Raquel Pennington. She's defending her title in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Did you know Raquel Pennington was a champion?
No, exactly. I mean, I knew, but
right.
Only because I've seen it. You know what I mean? Not because like, oh, and do you know what's annoying about this? Like, I remember watching Raquel and Thingy on Tough. They used to argue on Tough all the time. What's the name that's fighting against her now? I don't know how to forget her name because I love this woman. Juliana Pena.
Pena, yeah.
I love how annoying she is. Like, I love how she annoys everyone. Like, she's so good at annoying everyone.
She is, yeah.
And I watched her and Raquel on Tough constantly arguing. Why aren't the UFC using any?
Why are you hyping that up? Why aren't you seeing clips on YouTube, on social media, anywhere? I get nothing. Like, it's weird, man. Like, it's so weird.
You got Pena, the woman that beat Nunes. Like, you could use that. You know what I mean? You got Pennington. I think Pennington's close with Nunes as well. I think she's close friends with Nunes. So, like, there's so many things.
There's a lot of stuff you could do, and they're not doing it. And I feel like it's I hate to say it, but it's the wrestlers. They're not pushing them.
No, they don't. Yeah, because they don't want to. Like, they've noticed that no one wants to watch that. Like, I don't necessarily think it's bad to watch, like, two people scrambling on the floor. Like, I think it's quite entertaining at times.
Sure, but what
the majority of countries and cultures are striking. Like, it's just the culture we come from. You know what I mean?
But I saw this interesting take. Somebody posted it on Twitter, and I'll steal it. I don't know who you are, but if you ever see this video and that was your idea, then feel free to tell me. Yeah. But they were saying, like, the difference between people like Bilal and Merab, like, when they get on top of you, they're not looking to finish. They're looking to hold you and control you. Whereas, like, someone like Khabib smash Khamzat, he's going to try to finish the fight. Like, they are looking for the finish. Whereas, like, even Pantoja, Merab, you have what did I just say? Anyway, but these wrestlers who just sit on top of you and just hold you down for control, and then even just now, Valentina Shevchenko, like, just sat on top. There was no going for the finish. Whereas someone like Oliveira, who he's going to get you down, he's going to control you, but he's always looking to finish, and that's the difference between like being a fan favorite and being a boring champion, like boring Bilal. That's what I'm going to call him until the end of the days. Yeah. When was the last time he finished? He didn't even finish his breakfast.
It boils down to wanting to win the fight, essentially. It's like, who wants to win the fight, but who wants to win it clear? Like, how am I putting it? Who wants to actually take the risk, though, and clearly win that fight.
Do you want to win the fight or do you want to not lose?
Yeah, exactly. Like, because that happens in striking as well. Like, Izzy got to a point where he looked like he was fighting not to lose rather than to win.
I feel like that happens a lot in big time MMA. Even John Jones, like when those guys who were getting too close to him and he was barely eking out wins.
Yeah, I blame the contracts. I mean, right, so we just saw a fight where the two fighters were highly compensated for that fight, yeah? So it didn't matter how that fight ended or whatever, their pay is not affected. So what happened in that fight? They put it all on the line. I'm talking about AJ Dubois. Like, they literally
that was like guaranteed contract.
Yeah,
you're guaranteed
because they knew no matter how it ended, they knew what they're coming out with it. So they're gonna put it all on the line because it's worth it for them. It's like Anthony Joshua could have easily just took a knee in that first round and gone, nah, I'm done. You know what I mean? And saved himself trouble. But because he knows how much he's getting paid, he wants to put on a show. He wants to be like, no.
Because if he doesn't, next time he may not get that much money.
Yeah.
Whereas
in UFC, if you lose, you get half your pay.
You get nothing.
So
yeah. You just want to be safe and win, right?
Exactly. So why take a risk? Like, there's no incentive to take a risk. Like, even the bonuses are not good enough to justify that risk. Like, those fight of the night bonuses, 50 grand, it's pathetic. Like, a football player will get that for scoring, for being a substitute in a football match. Like, and he gets that at least once a week. Whereas in the UFC, twice a year you have a chance of winning a bonus.
3 times a year you fight, and how often are you going to win a bonus?
Exactly. So Eddie Hearn played with that for a bit. He started doing KO bonuses and stuff, and he noticed it didn't affect his cards at all because they're already well compensated. Like, why are they going to go for a knockout? They're already well compensated. Like, you know what I mean? So it didn't make the cards any exciting, but it didn't make them any less exciting.
Right.
The ones that were going for the knockout were doing it anyway. Mm-hmm. So I just think the whole pay structure just needs changing. And then you'll have a lot less guys like Marab, like Bilal. Whereas I actually find Marab's style quite entertaining because it's so consistent. It's just constantly trying to do it. Whereas Bilal stalls a lot.
Yeah.
So I do find Marab's a lot more entertaining to watch than Bilal's style, but it is boring at the end of the day. Like, like what highlights are going to come out of his title reign?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm not as into the wrestling part of MMA as the stand-up and even the jiu-jitsu. Like I said, if you're going for finishes and you're constantly applying pressure off your back or from the top position, like, I enjoy that. But if literally all you're doing is holding somebody and then throwing little punches just to do enough to not get stood up, I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea.
And it's not going to translate to a real fight. So as soon as the wrestler lets go of the guy that he's holding down and doing a little taps on, the guy's just going to stomp on your face, right? In a real life situation.
In real life, right?
He's going to kick your nose off your face, like. So it doesn't even translate to real life because you might hold someone down until they're tired, but you're getting tired doing that, and eventually you're both going to stand back up after that. In the real world, what's going to happen when you both stand back up? You know what I mean?
You're going to get smashed, yeah.
So even like the jiu-jitsu stuff makes sense because that translates to real life. Like, it's just snapped someone's arm. Yeah, that guy's not going to want to keep fighting.
Yeah.
More sense. Whereas the wrestling stuff, it's just like, see, this is where I'm glad that the 12-6 elbows are getting put back in, and like they're thinking of putting knees back on grounded opponents, because wrestling has been favoured so much in the rule set. And I've always said a wrestler doesn't win most of these fights. Like, a striker knees him in his nose and takes his bridge off his nose. Like, a striker palms him. You know what I mean? Like in all these little scenarios where they're just getting held down or held against the fence.
Mhm.
Like if you didn't have rule sets to favour that, the fight wouldn't work that way anyway.
That's like I gotta go here quickly, but if you look back at Pride, the ref would step in, separate the people like a lot quicker than the UFC,
Yeah.
and you didn't see wrestlers being favored. Like it was all trying to get that action, and I think maybe a rule change or emphasis on actually doing a martial art rather than holding somebody. Go ahead.
I know you got to go, so I'll be quick. But was the sphere card maybe the start of this? Because when you saw how Herb Dean did that final, it was very like Pride.
Yes.
Like, as soon as it started stalling, Herb Dean was in there straight away, like work.
Yeah, and then you hear the commentators being all pissy. What? Like, no, this needs to be entertaining, man. Like,
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I do feel Herb was told that to favour Sugar for that, because obviously he separated, gives him more chances. But I'm hoping that's what they're being told now is please prioritise action, and like judges need to prioritise damage, because I'm tired of like fights ending with no damage, or maybe even the wrestler being cut and hurt way more, but because they've just sat on top of someone, they've won. But to me, if you're the one walking away with blood dripping in your eye, you've lost. Like,
yeah, I hear you on that, and I think there might be like whenever they went to the unified rules, you know, they're supposed to be damage was number one, and then aggression, but like the way they count aggression is like being on top of somebody and tapping on their head a few times. Yeah. So then,
aggression is so strange. Like, literally, someone can just take a step forward and it's considered
aggression. He's controlling the octagon.
Yeah, and it's like, part of me does wish they had better commentators in UFC, because, like, seeing Joe Rogan like, oh, he's hurt, when a guy's just adjusting his range, like, it's so frustrating.
So that's one of the things Alicia hates about watching fights with me. If I watch the fights by myself, there's no sound. I have it muted. But she wants to hear like everything that's going on. She's like, "Why do you do that?" I'm like, "Because they're wrong. They're annoying and they're wrong. Like I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear what they have to say. I just want to watch."
Sometimes it affects how you've seen it, like because like for instance, I might be just editing or writing, so I've got it on in the background. And then I just hear, oh, he's rocked. So I look up. And I'm thinking, like, what's just happened is a fighter's just had his head wobbled. And really, it's just been jabbed. You know, so it's really...
that one hurt him. Like, not really.
It's like whenever, like, Ryan Hall fights, or someone like him who's renowned for jiu-jitsu, and it's like, oh, don't go down there. And it's like the best example was Saboria versus Ryan Hall. And Joe Rogan was like, oh, don't go down there. Next minute, Ryan Hall's just on the floor, like...
just out.
Yeah.
That's a good place to leave it. Just the Ryan Hall flatline.
Yeah, fuck perfect. Ryan Hall. He's the new Michael Chandler.
But all right, man. It was good chatting with you. If you guys want to drop a like on the stream, share it out to all their social media shenanigans, that'd be great. I'll talk to you probably tomorrow just to get, if you want to copy that script over to me, you can feel free to send it tonight or tomorrow, whatever. And I'll take a look at it.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Have a good one, guys. See you in a bit.
Take care.